Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another video. Okay, so I see I went against my own word a little bit, but I'm out taking care of some business. So it's daytime, but I'm in the shade. The wind is still warm, and it's tough. But at least I'm not in the sun. So this video is I wanted to address a very, very growing phenomenon. I don't want to say it's a phenomenon though, but I don't know if all of you have heard of, any of you have heard of narcissism, but narcissists are people with a personality disorder, and this personality disorder is developed during the developmental years of a child's growth, of their upbringing. And I had to learn about it, of course, because I'm surrounded by them, actually. You encounter them a lot, especially in the community, but immediate people in your life who have behaviors that are damaging, you tend to wonder what's wrong. You know something's wrong, but you just can't put your finger on it. So I had a family member help me or point me into the direction of learning what a narcissist was. Just told me to look it up a few years ago, and I did, and it was pretty heartbreaking to find out, the different characteristics that these people have, and you are already experiencing the harm from them, but to actually know, wow, this is a disorder, and that's why the person won't stop, because they can't. I mean, if they're unaware and they don't work on it, then they can't stop. There's a such thing as being a self-aware narcissist, and you have free will, so you can curb your behavior. You can consciously not perform what your mind tells you, or by default, connects you to do, due to this disorder. So you can control it, because we have, mashallah, we have free will. We have self-control if the person works on it and consciously fights the disorder. So if you don't know what narcissism is, you should look it up. You could even check and see if you have any of the traits. There are people who have traits, and then there are those who have the full-blown disorder. So I'll just give you a brief explanation on how the disorder comes about and what it is exactly. It's basically a grandiosity disorder where the person, they need to feel superior to others around them. They need to control them. They need to put them down and elevate themselves, put themselves up, put everyone else down, and make themselves feel good because they feel low. And it comes about and is created in two ways. Either the person was severely abused or neglected, harmed through their development years, told they were nothing, or constantly compared put up against other people who were deemed to be above them, like, for example, sibling rivalries, where your parents will tell you, oh, look at your brother, he's this, he's that, why aren't you this, you can't measure up to him, or you should measure up to him, constantly making the child feel low. Or your cousins, because I've encountered that. You have people who compare, their children to their nieces and nephews, and talk about their achievements and why you aren't this and why you aren't that, and you know, demeaning them, belittling them. That causes mental disorders during the developmental years. And the other way that a narcissist develops a disorder in childhood is through putting them on a pedestal. They're the model child, what they call the golden child. There are a few terminologies to know, you know, what each position is of a person in a narcissistic family dynamic. So you have the golden child, you have the scapegoat. This is the child that is always blamed for everything. You know, it's always his fault or her fault, or she has to take the weight, or he has to take the weight and the brunt of the family. The golden child is the one that just everyone adores, puts up on a pedestal, and and is made jealous of by everyone else around them. So these family dynamics are in abundance, actually, and when these individuals grow up, they expect the rest of the world to deal with them in the same way that they were raised, especially if you were the type who was put on a pedestal and made the model, and you were the cream of the crop and the star of the show of your family, whether that be academically, you know, it's academically, intellectually, athletically, financially, whatever it was, or however you got there. That's the cause. You were put on a pedestal by those around you, or you were made low, felt like you were nothing, so you had to prove to everyone in life that I am something, and at any cost. So all of this I'm explaining to you, and I'm gonna tie it into just so you'll be aware of what it is and what causes these this disorder, and that it is rampant amongst the Muslims, unfortunately. And people don't understand. Islam already deals with this. You're not supposed to praise a person. Don't praise your brother to his face, because verily you slaughter him without a sword. You slaughter him without a sword. So overly praising someone destroys them. And of course, la dar wa la dirar. There's no harm and no reciprocating harm. You can't harm the Muslim, especially in their developmental years. That's a tragedy. So how this relates to Hijrah is this disorder exists. The narcissistic person, this is the psychology diagnosis, of course, but Allah knows best what it really is called. But in the medical world, that's what it's called. The clinical world, that's what they call it, narcissism. And it's related to the story of Narcissi or something like that. I think that's his name. It's an ancient Greek story. But anyways, you're self-absorbed, basically. That's what it comes down to. Self-absorption, and you can't have anybody on top of you. You can't have any. You feel that if you're not the best, or you're not the center of attention, and everything is not about you, then you have to make it about you by any means necessary, even if that means damaging other people, damaging their egos, harming them, belittling them, putting them down. You have to feel on top all the time, or it's deficient. You feel deficient. So as it relates to Hijrah, we have both men and women with these characteristics. And coming overseas with a narcissist, unfortunately, you find many people, many sisters they feel that they're trapped because they didn't know or they don't know about these characteristics or these personality disorders, and they're married to these individuals who have trapped them. And a narcissist likes to separate you from your family. Not all. That's why I say you have to look it up and start studying so that you'll know the characteristics. They separate you from your family, cut you off so that they can have control. They separate you from the people whom you love. It's not just your family, your friends, anybody who you care about, who would have influence over you. They separate you from these people. And then if you're vulnerable, which many women are, they start to abuse you and tell you things like, you're nothing without me. What are you going to do? You going to go back to your family? Or abuse you because they know you desperately want to be overseas. So you're not going to leave. Where are you going to go? You're not going to leave me. You want to be overseas. Or you have children. Where are you going to go? Right? So it's an opportunity to make themselves feel good and you feel like nothing. And unfortunately, I had been in those situations. But I'm a silent planner. And, I don't make noise. I just execute. And it takes a toll on your mental health. It takes a toll on you, especially if you didn't know that was happening and then it all of a sudden happens to you. I mean, you realize that is what you are experiencing. And, the women need to know, the men need to know, because men experience it as well. They need to know what it is, and they need to know how to handle it, and they need to know that, these characteristics exist, and when you're on Hijrah, you have to act accordingly. Sometimes you have to separate from people, and you have to make the best of the situation. It's I've watched sisters, husbands play games. This is the extent of the illness of that mental disorder, is the deception. How far they will go to deceive you just to save face, just to make it look like they are correct, they are upright, they are honest. And I've seen sisters, husbands sabotage their Hijrah, agreeing to bring them here and then do everything in their power to make the situation difficult, to make their living difficult, the finances difficult, so that they don't have any choice but to leave. But instead of saying, I really don't want you to make Hijrah, that's because that sounds crazy, they use tactics and they play games. And of course, this is essentially something that's evil. But these people have a personality disorder, and they don't even see it as that. It's about their ego, it's about their pride, it's about their being on top, staying in control, and things like that. It's a disorder. It's literally a disorder. Because I'm like, if so many Muslims that have it, it's a personality disorder. It's not just people are just evil. Those are evil acts. But they don't understand the magnitude of what they're doing. Or maybe they do. Maybe I'm giving them too many excuses. But I definitely, it can definitely be genetic. I'm saying that because me, myself, after learning about narcissism, I had to look into the affairs related to my own self, because I had characteristics before I was Muslim. I'm raised by people who have that characteristic, because many women in my family, they're the star of the show. So they have that characteristic for sure, 100%. So I was trying to make sure I wasn't. I'm not I don't have the personality disorder, but just checking out the traits, trying to make sure I don't have any of that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's just something that you all should look into. And sisters, unfortunately, that's when Tawheed comes in. When you encounter these kind of personalities, or you find yourself in these situations, both men and women, that's when your Tawheed comes in. Allah's help is sought. You can't fear that, oh no, what's going to happen? I have to stay in this abusive, oppressive situation. My mental health is suffering because I need to maintain my hijrah, and I don't want to leave this marriage. This marriage is what's causing me to be on hijrah. No, that's wrong. That's incorrect. And you will continue to suffer, both men and women, if you don't put your trust in Allah alone and know that Allah is the one who is the facilitator and not the human being. I don't care what means got you here. If it was a marriage or a job, don't stay in abuse. It goes for jobs as well. Abusive employers. And abusive employers. I've noticed that these employers, they have personality disorders. Yes, they do. Not everybody, but Allahu Musta'an, the ones that I've been coming across, they do. And perhaps that's just a test for me, because I've been exercising, of course, pushback, calling people out on their stuff, challenging them, which is a no-win situation with someone that has a personality disorder, but you have to get away from them. So you stand up for yourself, and then you get out of Dodge. But that's a real thing. It's a real thing. And you don't have to put up with it. And foundationally, it goes back to the ill nature of human beings. And when they don't practice the religion, or they don't adhere to it, these are the types of characteristics that you are subjected to. And like I said, there's a such thing called an aware narcissist, self-aware narcissist, where if you learn that you have been diagnosed with this disorder, you can control it. Because some people, they don't want to be like that. They don't want to have these characteristics, right? Like I said, I had to do some self-search myself, and there was characteristics that I had when I was younger that I didn't want to have, but I strove hard in Islam. Before I even knew what narcissism was, I strove hard to try to implement the religion and rid myself of those characteristics. So you can have the traits, and then you can have the full-blown disorder. The disorder is harder because your brain is affected and you can't turn it off. You just can't. But you can control the symptoms, and you can watch how you deal with people. Make a conscious effort to deal with people. But a person that's purely on his desires and he's used to just following his hawa, then it's very difficult for him. He's not self-aware. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. And if you tell them to their face, oh, you're a narcissist, that's the worst thing you can do, because they're going to deny it. They are always in denial. They always have to be right. They're never wrong. They don't take advice. They're the ones that have to advise all the time. They're the ones that have to be in control, because it's a disorder. It's a deficiency. I feel low. I feel I have to be in control all the time, because this is how I was raised. Either I had no control, and now my personality is that I have to control everything, or I was brought up to believe that I had control of everything, and now I have to continue that because this is now my personality. This is me, to control things. Always be in a seat of praise, always be in a position, always be. It's damaging. So yeah, those are things to look out for. Not trying to make anyone afraid or anything like that. Know that knowledge comes to you when it's supposed to. You don't have to be suspicious of anyone or checking up on anyone and say, oh, let me check to see if, if there's no signs, then there's no need to spy on your spouse. But open your mind, open your eyes. If you have been suffering some hardships in relationships, first and foremost, look at yourself, rectify you, because that's what I had to do. These people come into your life for a reason, whether they are your parents or otherwise. You learn how to behave. You learn how to treat people or how not to treat people. So my take from it was, because like I said, I'm surrounded by them. I've been surrounded by them. My take from it and my lessons from it, as hard as it was, and I'm telling you with a, post-traumatic tone and voice. I've already gone through everything. The sadness, the breakdowns, I've gone through all of that already. So I'm telling you from someone who survived and is now, in the healing process, is that you are being taught a lesson, both the men and the women. Look at how you got that spouse. Look at why you wanted that spouse. Whether it was family influence, you're trying to live up to something, you have a certain standard that you won't shake, and you'll have that standard no matter what it takes. If it means pain, you don't care. Whatever the case may be, why are you putting up with that? That's a deep dive for you to do. Whether it's a character flaw that you have that you need to fix, and Allah is showing you need to fix it through the harm of this person, there's something inside of you that needs to be fixed. All right? And we ask Allah for help and for protection and for rectification. And just from what I'm reading from Ibn al-Qayyim and Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, is that sins manifest themselves physically. So we're tried with these individuals because there's something that needs to be rectified within us. Deep dive. All that is related to Hijrah. Like I said. Alright, I'll see y'all in the next video. By the permission of Allah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Don't forget Hijrah, mandate sacrifice. مع السلامة.